I'm honored to be here. Mayor Kasab, thank you for hosting the C40 and for Sao Paulo's leadership on climate change. I want to thank Mayor Bloomberg and the President of the World Bank, Bob Zoellick, for the announcement they have already made, and I will say a little more about it in a moment. This is a very important meeting for several reasons. First of all, by 2030, about 60% of the world's people will live in cities, 80% plus in developed countries. The growth will either be a threat to our future and signal the certain destruction coming from climate change, or it will prove to present the most dramatic opportunity for economic and social investment in the lifetime of anyone in this room. It depends upon the decisions we make. I believe, and I have always believed, that even the most optimistic assumptions about the cost of averting climate disaster were wrong. I believe that building a sustainable future is the only way to have a functioning economy in the great urban centers of the world and to avoid the calamities that will accompany the dramatic growth in population in our world. And I would like to talk just a little about the specifics in terms of what we're doing. First, just one little fact based on the experience of the United States. When we spend $1 billion in America to build a coal-fired power plant, it creates 870 jobs. Nuclear, fewer, because the plants are so expensive. Solar power, about 1,900 jobs. Wind power, if you make and assemble the turbines and the blades where they're used, 3,300 jobs. Energy efficiency in buildings, 7,000 jobs. The ratios are the same throughout the world, though the numbers may be different. Indeed, I suspect the economic benefits of sustainability in developing countries relative to new investment are even greater. So we have to think about how to do this. That's what the C40 is all about. In 2006, I was very grateful when I was asked by the then Mayor of London, Ken Livingstone, to try to provide support to this group. And since then, we have either completed or still have under construction 400 building retrofit projects of single and multiple buildings, with 250 more in development. Among those are Sao Paulo's plan to retrofit its 1,500 schools, and at least 300 of those will be completed this year. In addition to that, as I'm sure all of you know, we have worked with many of the cities, primarily in Latin America, on transportation systems, everything from hybrid and natural gas-powered buses to more bicycle lanes. We've worked on street lighting and traffic lighting. We have worked on landfills, something that is very important to me, and I'll say more about that in a moment. And we have worked to approve 17 climate-positive developments in 10 cities on 5 continents, which in a matter of a few years will have more than 1 million people living and working in communities that emit no greenhouse gas emissions. I think all of this is very, very important, especially since cities already emit the vast majority of our greenhouse gas emissions. But the truth is that what we have been doing is not enough. It's not enough within our borders of our cities. It's not enough in reaching out to other cities. It's not enough in communicating to people who aren't already believers in this cause that it is not only necessary to save the future of the planet, but it's good economics. When Mayor Bloomberg became the chairman of the C40s, he laid out a number of objectives, which I know because he was kind enough to give me a copy of his remarks today, that he has already laid out for you, and which the governing committee of the C40 has endorsed. He wanted to build a professional staff internally and not have to rely on the Clinton Initiative or anybody else from the outside to staff properly the C40. He wanted cities to form networks so that they could accelerate and diversify the things that they were doing and learn from each other. He wanted to communicate more effectively and work more effectively with national governments and international organizations like the World Bank. He wanted to provide new ideas and more adequately publicize the evidence for what works. And he wanted to provide direct support to the cities for all these projects that are going on. When our foundation was doing this work since 2006, the only thing that we could do a good job of is the last category. We provided direct support, and I'm very proud of the work that has been done, and it is being done. We have people on the ground in 19 of the 40 cities, but there should be people in all of these cities, in all our affiliate cities, and more cities to be brought in, which is another one of the objectives the mayor outlined, who don't think about anything else all day, every day, but what we can do to accelerate the reduction of greenhouse gases in a way that makes our lives more sustainable and more prosperous. Mr. Mayor, I want to compliment Sao Paulo. You have adopted a comprehensive plan. You have proved what you can do with the plan and a system to implement it that guarantees capacity. Your goal of reducing greenhouse gases 30% from 1995 and the plans you have to do it are truly impressive. And you're part of a whole network of communities in Brazil that are determined to prove that a sustainable future is good economics. You also, I think, are very fortunate to be in a country that recognizes its potential. Everybody here knows that Brazil produces the world's most efficient biofuel. Ethanol based from cane produces 9.3 gallons of fuel for every 1 gallon of oil required to produce it. The United States produces slightly more biofuels in volume, but ours is much less efficient, only about 2.8 gallons of biofuels for every gallon of oil required to produce it. 90% of the cars now in Brazil run on ethanol or hybrids. More than 90% of the electricity is generated from renewable resources. As nearly as I can determine, there are only 2 or 3 countries in the world, all of them much smaller than Brazil, anywhere near that figure. I was recently in Manaus at a sustainability conference, which I found refreshing. I wish we had such meetings in America because Mayor Bloomberg, they had the heads of all the utilities, the heads of all the oil companies, the leader of the Green Party who ran third in the presidential election, all the environmental activists, people concerned about whether the native peoples of the rainforest could survive further hydroelectric development there. They didn't resolve the issues, but they were all in one room. They were sitting down, talking with each other respectfully, understanding that not every issue in building a sustainable future has an easy answer. And even if we all decide to go green as hard as we can, there will be some conflicting questions where you'll just have to do the best you can in an imperfect world.